Hi folks, and welcome to our UWindsor Drupal 7 Gridster training. So in this lesson we're going to learn all about how to use a Gridster, what a Gridster is, the steps you need to take to set yours up, some things that are your responsibility on your end, and then other things that are ITS Web Services Group's responsibility. So I guess we'll jump right in. So I guess the first question you might be asking yourself is, what is a Gridster? So we'll take a quick look at what it is and what it's for, and then we'll jump into how to create one. So you've probably seen quite a few UWindsor sites that have a Gridster. Typically it's on the home page of a group or a department or a faculty, and you'll see it kind of a little bit lower down on the page. And it's literally just a grid of images and text that link to different places. So the general idea with a Gridster is that it's almost like a secondary navigation or a dashboard that your users can use to go to high-level places on your site. So if you're a program like we have here, social work, it might lead to things that are geared more toward future students or geared toward applying or figuring out what their admission requirements are. So, we've got some things relating to that on this page. Here we have catering services site, and for their Gridster, as I mentioned before, is geared toward the types of things you might do when you want to visit their site. So at a high level, you might want to see the menu, order online, view a gallery of past events that they've catered, learn about their team, and so on. So the Gridster, what you put into your Gridster really depends on who your site is aimed at and what tasks they might want to accomplish, or what tasks you might want them to accomplish when they visit your site. One last example, we have Lancer Center. So this one is relating to some of the models that were created for it, the campaign around it. There's also a video included that just talks about the project. So I think you get the idea. It's geared toward the high level things that people might be looking for if they visit your site. And more often than not, you'll see there's repetition of what was in your left-hand navigation inside of this Gridster area, but in more of a graphical setup. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. So without further ado, I think we're going to jump right into how we create a Gridster. So I've laid out more or less what I want my Gridster to look like. So I've got this here that I'm going to use as a background for a video in my Gridster. I've got a graphic that's going to have text embedded into the graphic that'll lead to information about how to apply. This one here, I'll have some text overlaid that'll be controlled by the Gridster, where it'll lead to program areas. We've also got another image with embedded text, meet your profs. And then we'll also talk about how to embed a menu into your Gridster, if you so choose. Now I have this concept that I put together, and I also have what the finished product will end up looking like once we're done. Just to give you a sense. So I've got the video, and embedded text that leads to a link, another link here that has real text overlaid over top of it, and then another image with some text inside of it, and our menu. Now before we go too much further, in terms of graphics, if you're confident with creating your own graphics or putting in your own images in, by all means go for it. But if you're not sure, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to ITS Web Services Group, and we can chat with you about how to go about adding images, or where to find images, what some of the links you might want to use are, and at the same time too, if you'd like for us to help you to lay it out you can open up a ticket with us and we can take a look. Because creating a layout can be a little bit involved, particularly if you don't have a design background. So just putting that out there that you can open a ticket and we can help you out. So I've exported all of my images as JPEGs and PNGs, so they're all exported and saved out for web, so they're relatively small in terms of download size. And that's a step that we won't actually cover in this module. It's a little bit beyond the scope of just working with the Gridster. And again, if you need help exporting images, feel free to reach out to our group. So the first one that we'll create in Drupal is, we'll do this apply now one, because it's a pretty good example. For the most part, most people are using images that have text embedded inside of the image, and then we put our alt tag on the image when we upload it, which I'll show you very shortly. So we'll start with this one. So okay, so here we are on our site. So hopefully, before watching this video, hopefully you've watched the basic training video, or you've attended a basic training session where we go over how to add and edit pages, links, etc. And if you were part of that session or watched the session, you'll know that we want to log in by grabbing our main URL and appending user on the end of it. And then we can log in using Microsoft Azure. Okay, so here we are. Now we're going to add our first Gridster item. And so in terms of creating a Gridster, there's basically two steps. The first being to create a block, a Gridster block. So any one of these things, creating the individual item and then putting it into the Gridster itself. So we're going to follow our steps. We'll add our apply now button, and then we'll add it into the Gridster. So let's take a look at that. So we're logged in, and we'll go to content, add content, and it works very similarly to creating a page or an event or a news article. We'll go to add content and then front page grid item. Now, one other thing to note before we go too much further is your page might already have a Gridster on it. It might already be designed and configured. Some of you might not have a Gridster yet, and if it's not there, it's just a matter of opening up a ticket with ITS and having us enabling it for you. That said as well, though, some pages can't have a Gridster. So if you're not a group or a department or a faculty, then unfortunately it's not eligible to have the Gridster, and it won't work. Okay, so with that said, we'll go to content, add content, and then front page grid item. Okay, so we'll put our title in. Let's call it apply now. It's best practice to usually just stick with something that's that you'll be able to remember and understand over time. Now, another thing to make note of, if you are creating your own graphic, there are guidelines on dimensions. So a 1x1 block, which we're creating right now. So it's literally one part of our column by one part. So height and width is 300 by 300 pixels. If you're doing a 1x2, which would be something like this one, so it's a little bit taller, that would be 300 by 606. And then also, if we don't have an example of that here, but if we were to take this block and flip it on its side, that would be 606 by 300 and so on. So if you had a block that was going to take up 4 of these chunks here, that would be 606 by 606. So hopefully that makes sense. Just a little guideline there. So we've got our title, we've got our image, dimensions. Now we can upload our image, which works similarly to adding images to a page the way that we did in the basic training. So if we go browse, and again, if we have something in our library already, we can just grab it from there. In this case, I'm going to upload something new. So we go to the upload tab, we'll go add files, And I've got my Gridster graphics in here. I've got my apply now, 300 by 300. By the way, naming conventions, that's totally up to you. I just find this easy to understand over time. You know, apply now is what it says, and it's 300 pixels by 300 pixels, but that's up to you. So we'll open this up, and we'll start the upload. It was successful. That's good. We'll go next. Okay, we've got our image. One important thing to take a note of, and we discussed this in the basic training as well, is we always want our alt text. That way our friends that are using assistive technology like screen readers, they'll get some context on what the image was. So in this case, it's an apply now button. I think it's safe to just put apply now. That way they get the same context that that the other people get. So apply now, that should work. And then we'll hit save. Okay, so we got our title, we got our image. We'll ignore the video link for now. So I have to just go find my target URL. So what the target URL is if somebody's on your page and they see the Gridster, it has the apply now button, they can click that button and it'll take them to the URL that you specify in this field. So I'm just gonna grab my link over here. So I got the apply now page, the future.uwindsor apply now page. And I'm gonna put the link right here. That's all set. The last thing we need to do is set our view type. And so this will indicate to Drupal what kind of Gridster block it is. So we're gonna select image. And so what that means is it's just an image with the text and graphics embedded into it, and that's it. Now, if we select image and text, it'll basically be an image with real text superimposed over top of it. And we'll look at how to do an example of that very shortly. Same with video. The video is set up where they'll click the Gridster item and a video will open up over top of the website. We'll look at all those, but for this example, we'll just stick to image. So we've got our view type set up, got our target URL, we have our image and our title. I think we're good to save. Okay, so the Gridster item has been created. Now, the next step is we want to put it into the Gridster layout. So we're going to go to Configuration, University of Windsor, and then UWindsor Gridster. And if you look here, list of available pages. So this is the thing that we just created. So it's apply now button. If we would have created 2 or 3 more, those would have showed up as well. And we'll see that as we go through our examples. So we've got our apply now, and we're going to hit save configuration. And then we're going to go to the home page and we'll take a quick look. Okay, so there it is. The other ones are empty. We have specified that we want a dark gray background on any Gridster items that are currently empty. So we've got our apply now. I can see that it's going to link to apply. Let's take a quick look. And it does go to where we told it. The only thing is we actually wanted it to be in the middle, so we're gonna just go move it over. So we'll go back to our Gridster display. And so if we mouse over our Gridster item here, if we get the little Mickey Mouse Super Mario hand over top, we can click and just drag it over, and you'll get like a little pink indicator behind it that'll show you where it's going to land if we let go. So we'll just drag and drop it over there. We'll hit save, and we'll take a quick look. Excellent. So it wound up exactly where we wanted it. So that's an example of an image-based Gridster block item. So that's our middle one that we just did. I think what we'll do next is we'll look at this one here. So this one's going to be image and text. So we'll go in and take a look. So again, we want to create a brand new Gridster item. We're going to go to Content, Add Content, and then Front Page Grid Item. Now in this instance, our title is actually going to be the text that gets overlaid over top of the image. So for this one, I was going to link it over to undergraduate programs. So we'll just put in undergraduate programs for our text. For this one, it's going to be a 300 by 300 image. So we'll go to attach media, browse, and I'm going to upload a new file because it's not on our server just yet. So this one is Dylan Hall 300 by 300. We'll open that up. Start upload. Go next. And again, we want our alt tag, our alt text, very important for our friends who are using screen readers. In this instance, you might not be able to see it, but there's students that are walking down the corridor near Dylan Hall. So I think we'll just put students walking. Alternatively, you could put undergraduate programs, if I can spell. Graduate, there we go. Sorry, folks. Programs, and we could add a little bit of context, students walking, or we could just take out students walking. I think that would be fine. It's more important that the user knows what the link does rather than what the image is inside the link in this instance. So I'd say use your best judgment in cases like this, but I think we'll just do undergraduate programs as our alt text. Okay, so we've got our image, we've got our alt text. We'll hit save. Okay, so again, we're going to ignore the video link because this is not going to be a video-based Gridster item. We're going to grab our target URL. And so we're going to go to the site and we'll find the undergraduate link. So it's just linking within this same site. So we'll go undergraduate programs. And we spoke about this in the basic training, but I'll repeat it again here. If you're going to set up a link that links to a page within the site that you're on, I find it's best practice if you just grab everything after .ca from the URL that you're using. So it keeps things nice and tidy. If your site happens to move from a staging to a production live site, you don't have to go back and change anything. It's just a really tidy way to keep all your links relative to each other. So we'll copy that and we'll put it into our target URL for our Gridster item. The next thing is view type. Now this time we'll choose image and title. Okay, so I think we're all set. We've got our title, which is going to overlay over top of our image, which we have here. Got our image. We've got our target URL, so where we want it to go when people click that particular image in the Gridster. And we've got our view type set, so image with image and title. So it'll be an image with text over top. So we can hit save. Okay, so we've created the item. Now, once again, we have to do the second step of going into the Gridster and adding it in to the Gridster layout. So we'll go to Configuration, University of Windsor, UWindsor Gridster, and you can see here it's been added as an option. So we'll click that on, and once again we'll want to move it below the apply button, just because that's what we spec'd out in our design that we want to do for our Gridster. We'll hit save, and we'll go take a look at what it looks like. So that looks pretty good. I mean, this is just an example, so we won't do it here, but I think if this was an actual live site, I might actually move the students up a little bit so they're not in this dark area. The reason that there's a bit of a dark gradient is so that the text has enough contrast, because that is an accessibility concern, having text contrast enough with its background for people who have vision disabilities or people with color blindness and things like that. Actually, let's test out our link to see if it goes to where it's supposed to go. It does, so that's good. Okay, so we've got two examples already. So we've got our image with embedded text, which links to the Apply Now link. We have our undergraduate programs Gridster item that has the superimposed text on top of it. I think the next example that we'll look at is our video Gridster block item, which should look like this once we're done. So let's take a look at that. So if we go back to content, add content, and then front page grid item. I know this is very repetitive. A lot of the steps are the same from piece to piece. Now we're going to link to the video in this one. So I think we'll call it, I'm going to link to a Campus Life video. So we'll just call it Campus Life video. Now in this instance, it's going to be a 1x2 block, so 300 pixels wide by 606 pixels tall. I'm going to go to Attach Media, Browse Images, and we'll find that piece, Dillon Hall, 300 by 606, pardon me. We'll open that up. We'll start the upload. Successful. It's good. Next. Alt text. So in this instance, you might not be able to see it, but it's a picture of Dillon Hall with some students walking in front. So again, we'll do Dillon Hall, students walking. Doesn't have to be a novel. Just something to give a little bit of context. So we'll hit save. Now, in this instance, we'll want a video link for this. So I'm going to go and find my video. Bear with me for a sec. Okay, so I want to grab my video link. So if you're on YouTube, oh, that's loud. So if you're on YouTube or Vimeo, you can grab the URL from way up top, and then we can just put it right into the video link right here. And that should be good. Target URL, we don't have to worry about that because we're not linking to anything. We're just linking to a video that's going to play over top of the website. View type, we're going to want video because it's a YouTube video. So we've got our view type set to video. We've got our YouTube link inside of our video link. We've got our image and our title. We should be good to go. So we'll hit save. Great. So once again, we've satisfied our first step of creating a Gridster item, and now we need to put it into the Gridster layout. So once again, we'll go to Configuration, University of Windsor, UWindsor Gridster, and we've got our new option right there, Campus Life Video. Now, another thing to consider too, if you want to create all of your Gridster items first and then add them all into the Gridster layout, you can totally do that. That's totally up to you. Just for the sake of hammering out what our steps are, I'm doing it this way, but you can create all your Gridster items first if you prefer to do it that way. Now I've turned on my Campus Life video into the Gridster, but we can kind of see that it's a little bit askew and it's not super tall just yet. And so the way that we fix that is, you might not be able to see it, but there's a tiny little arrow in the bottom right-hand corner. Same with all these other ones, they all have it. If you mouse over, there's a little arrow. Same with this one, it's just kind of hard to see because it's dark. But if you mouse over it just the right way, right here, you can see that the little hand turns into an arrow. Now, once it turns into an arrow, you can actually click and drag it down or around. You can drag it the other way if you want. It depends on your layout, but yeah, if you get the arrow, you can start to drag it. Now, conversely, if you get the hand, you can start to move it to other places, drag and drop. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I think we're going to save that and check it out. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, let's see if our video plays. Turn the sound down first. Very nice. It works. You folks probably can't hear it because I'm recording this through headphones, but I can confirm that there is audio. So the video plays. If the user wants to get out of the video screen, they can hit escape, or they can just click out. Totally up to them. Also, it doesn't play until they're ready for it to play. The reason for that is with accessibility, rules for accessibility is if it's a time-based media, so a video, the end user has to be able to control the playback. So that's why it doesn't automatically play if they open it. So we've got three really nice examples here. We've got an image-based Gridster item. We have an image with title Gridster item, and a video. These two are linking to a website, and then this one links to an overlay box that plays the video for us. I think we're in pretty good shape here. So there's two last examples we'll look at really quick. We'll just do our last image with embedded text, and then we'll look at how to add some menu items to our Gridster if we want to. Totally optional. Okay, so one last example of an image. So we'll go to, once again, content, add content, front page grid. And this one we'll call it Meet Your Profs. It's a 300 by 300. We'll go attach media, browse, add files. A lot of this is repetition, so if you folks feel confident about doing the image-based Gridster items, feel free to just fast forward a little bit. Totally up to you. So we'll go start upload, go next. Once again, we want our alt tag. So in this example, we have text and an image. So it's kind of up to you, but you could put something like meet our profs, and that would give, in my opinion, the right amount of context for the image. If you want to go a step further, you could do meet our profs, and then you could put something like group photo of physics, if I can spell. Physics department profs, something like that. You could get away with leaving this part out if you wanted to. Totally up to you. So we got our alt tag, we got our image. We will hit save. And target URL, we'll go get that. So we'll go quality teaching. And once again, everything after .ca is, in my opinion, best practice for setting up your links that are linking to a page within your site, within your individual site. So we'll go back to our Gridster, put it into the target URL. Now view type, we'll do image, because it's an image with embedded text. So we've got our title, got our image, we've got our target URL, and our view type is set to image. We can hit save. And once again, we're going to do our last step of going back to configuration, University of Windsor, UWindsor Gridster. And we'll turn the Meet Your Profs item on. There it is. Don't really need to do any adjustment. That one should be good to go. We'll hit save. And let's take a look. Whoopsie. Take a look at what it looks like. Very nice. And I can see it links to our page. So that's good. Okay, so our last example is how to add a little bit of a navigation into the Gridster. Now you don't have to use it, and if your left-hand navigation is relatively short, you can more than likely avoid using anything like this, because your site should be easy enough to navigate without having to have another navigation thrown into the mix. I'll say this to try to keep it short. Keep it at high-level items. The same goes for just the Gridster in general. You're looking for the very high-level things that people might want to get to if they come to your site. So, if you're a program area, you might want to include, what are my admission requirements? Or what programs do you offer? news about. Totally up to you. So if you're going to have it occupy the space of a 1x1 block, I don't recommend having more than 4 or 5 links inside of there. If you're going to have it occupy something that's a 1x2 block or anything on the taller side, I would probably avoid keeping it. I try to keep it to 8, maybe 9, maybe 10 links at the most, because otherwise it's going to get super squished, and it's really going to take away from the whole idea of having just like a miniature dashboard that people can make use of to get to important areas. So just something to keep in mind. So okay, we're going to jump right in. We'll show how to create something like this. So this one's slightly more advanced. There's a few more steps to it, but the first one is that we're going to want to go to structure and then menus, and we're going to create the menu that lives inside of that block. So we'll go menu, add menu, and you can call it whatever you want, but I think we'll call it, just for the sake of this example, we can just call it Gridster menu. Description, you can leave it blank if you like, or you can just basically say what it is. So menu that lives inside of the homepage Gridster. Just something simple. It doesn't hurt to document, particularly if your group has a lot of turnover in terms of content editors within your area. So menu that lives inside the homepage Gridster. We've got our title. We can hit save. So we've created the menu that holds the links inside of that Gridster area. Okay, so we've got our menu created. The next thing we want to do is add our links into the menu. So it works pretty much the same way as if you're adding links to your left-hand navigation. So you can just go add link. We want it to be about us. I'm just going to go through the first one, and then we'll skip ahead. That way we can save a little bit of time. Okay, so path, we'll do node and a page number. So you can literally just go and grab the page number and put node / whatever the page number is. For that, we'll do enabled. So if we leave enabled on, the link will show up in the navigation that we're creating. If we turn enabled off, it won't show up. Show as expanded doesn't really work too well in this instance, so we're going to leave that off. But in case you're wondering, it basically just expands any navigation items that have child items inside of it. Parent grid, link, we're not going to worry about that. That's all good. We'll hit save. Okay, so we got about us. I'm going to go ahead and add the other ones, and then we'll skip over to the next step. So, okay, so we've got all of our navigation items created inside of our Gridster menu. So the next step is we want to go to structure and then blocks, and we're going to go and find our Gridster menu. It should be under the disabled blocks area. There it is, Gridster menu. So basically the region that it lives in is basically, this is our way of telling the block where we want it to go. So if we were to say right sidebar, it would go into the right sidebar of our layout, so the right hand side, the far right side. Or if we put content, it would go into our middle content column where most of our text goes. Now in this instance, we want it to be in the front page grid, so we want it to be available within our Gridster layout. So we'll select front page grid, and we just need to hit save so we can save this new configuration. Now let's take a look. Front page grid, there it is, Gridster menu. So that's good. So our next step is we're once again going to go back to configuration, University of Windsor, and then UWindsor Gridster. And now we can see list of available blocks. We've got our Gridster menu that we created. We can turn that on. And we can hit save. It looks a little bit wonky in the back end, but if we go look at it on the front of the site, it should look fine. And there it is. Looks pretty good. Let's try out one of the links. Oh yeah, it goes to about us, so that's great. So it's working. That's awesome. So one last thing we could talk about is just really quickly how to edit these different items. So we can quickly go through that, and then we're basically done. If we go over to content, and we talked about this in the basic training a little bit, you can actually filter your content types. So, I just created these front page Gridster items, but more often than not, they're gonna probably get shuffled in with all these pages and news articles and events. So what we'll do is we'll go to type and we'll just filter it by front page grid items. That way we can make our edits a little bit easier. Now let's say hypothetically, maybe I want to change the link to the Campus Life video. I'll just go to the edit button, and I can just put my new YouTube link in there. I can switch my image out if I want to, and then at that point we just hit save. It should be good. Same with so our undergraduate program one where it's an image with overlaid text. We'll go undergraduate programs and we'll go edit. Maybe I just want to say programs now for whatever reason. And maybe the link changed. You can switch it there. You can switch the image just by removing the old one and browsing and finding a new one. And then we can hit save. And the same for all the other ones. Now, that's how to edit the more standard ones, and we'll refresh. We'll take a look. Oh, it looks like it didn't take. So if you happen to run into this issue, if you wait a little bit, it'll clear its cache. Alternatively, you could open up a ticket. We can flush the cache on your Drupal instance. But if it's not an emergency, you can just wait a little bit, and it'll sort itself out. Okay, let's see. There we go. So yeah, I just had to flush the cache. So that's the way to edit these more standard Gridster items. And then if you wanted to edit your menu, there's a couple ways we could do that. So what you would want to do is go to Structure, and then Menus, and then you would just want to find the Gridster menu that you created. So it's just this one right here. Go List Items. So let's say maybe I want to disable this teaching button, or maybe I want to disable the programs button since I already have a button right next to it that does the same thing. You can save that. Alternatively too, if you needed to edit the individual items here, you can just go into this edit button, and if you want to change the link or maybe just have it just say about, you can do that as well. Hit save. One other thing to note as well, so I've clicked enabled off on the programs navigation item. It just turns off the navigation item. It doesn't delete it. It doesn't delete the page. It's still technically there. It's just not visible anymore. The same goes for if you delete the navigation item. So at that point, the navigation item is gone, but the page itself, in this instance for programs, if I were to delete this navigation item, the program page would still be there, just the navigation's gone, just in case anybody was wondering or worried about that. So we'll just hit save one more time, and we'll go take a quick look. So yeah, we can see that our changes, we saved them, but they aren't showing up. And again, that's it's a caching issue. Part of it is that we have the cache so that sites can load up quicker for people. So if it's an issue and you can't wait for it to resolve itself, you can always just, again, open up a ticket and we'll flush the cache. It's an administrative function on our end, but we'll flush it real quick so we can see our changes. Okay, there we go. So yeah, the programs are gone from the list. About Us is now just About. So yeah, that's a little bit of training on how to create, edit, administer your Gridster on your homepage if it's enabled. So hopefully you found that useful. And if at any point you're struggling or you've had some kind of a catastrophe with it, not that I think you will, but anything bad happens or you need some help or you're not sure about something, do feel free to reach out through Teams, email, or better yet, open up a ticket with ITS Web Services Group, and we'll get you sorted as best as we can. In the meantime, I hope all you folks watching this have a great day, and take care for now.